I was at a wedding this morning. In case you're wondering what this is all about right here.
Left so much to say, all the misconnections. Oh, I left so much to say. Why do the years move faster? Oh, there's so much I could change. Why spend the effort? Oh, there's so much I could change. Oh, there's so much I'd let go.
Michigan emo rock band Hot Mulligan are back with their third full-length album, Why Would I Watch? I have to confess, my early years were spent listening to a lot of underground sounds that would eventually blow up into what is now known widely as emo music, especially bands from the late 90s and early 2000s. Even though I feel that this sound, sadly, has been played to death, I still have a nostalgic affection for bands firmly situated in that tradition, considering that I grew up with it. And it is with that caveat that I want to talk about Hot Mulligan, since a lot of this album is itself about nostalgia. Their new album, even though it borrows from these sounds, feels very fresh, and yet in spite of this freshness, it still feels like it could have fit that early 2000s Midwest emo sound, like Braid or the Get Up Kids, or even more southern acts like Hot Rod Circuit. I appreciate also that on this album, they don't always follow the typical verse-chorus song structures, as are often used in emo or pop-punk bands. I also appreciate the funny names of these tracks, considering, as we will get into it, how emotionally heavy these songs are. This charm and humor and lightness makes for an enjoyable listening experience for what is otherwise, again, a very, very emotionally heavy album. The album opens with the song, Shouldn't Have a Leg Hole, But I Do. The song starts off as this urgent acoustic tune that explodes into an existential rock anthem. This transitions directly into the second track, It's a Family Movie, She Hates Her Dad. This song is a bouncy, more pop-punk oriented rock sound, which is about a family history of addiction and worrying if it will come for you. The song has this urgent energy as if the past is directly coming for you. I also appreciate that Midwest double tapping solo that occurs on the song. The third track, And I Smoke, is one that grew on me. It is played more on a minor scale compared to some of the other songs on this album, and weighs a little heavier in contrast to even the previous tracks. The song is about having some sort of panic attack, with the chorus going through this kind of mantra about needing to regulate your breath or repeating these positive affirmations. This is combined with this frantic or frenetic energy, which suits the sort of contradiction of finding space to calm yourself down while you're in the middle of it. Emo music is usually about romantic relationships, but I like that this album has more of a mental health approach. It still gives the music that emotional quality that is representative of emo music. It just has more to do with grief and trauma than about the girl that broke your heart. We then get the adventurous track. The song is called It's Called What It's Called. This song is wild. It starts off with that typical Midwest emo vibe, American football, etc. Before, again, exploding into this fast, frenetic rock jam, only to go from that to this super pop-punk, catchy breakdown, before fading out with this sad group chant. The fact that they maintain all of these elements in a single song and keep it catchy and enjoyable is a pretty incredible feat. It was definitely one of the more standout moments on this album. The song lyrically is nice as well, as it sees the band nostalgically reflecting on past tours and lamenting as the memories are fading away. There is also this catchy, hard-hitting refrain where the lead singer, Nathan Sanville, sings, "Oh, I left so much to say," as they reminisce about all of the personal interactions that they had while on tour. Nathan also sounds a lot like Connor Murphy from Foxing on this song, to the extent that I feel like it is Connor guest spotting on this song, but I have found no credits to confirm that. But man, he sounds like Connor on this track. The next song, No Shoes in the Coffee Shop, or Socks, is another more pop-oriented track. It seems to see the band, again, trying to hold on to memories, while drinking is not helping with that. As I mentioned earlier, nostalgia is a constant theme on this album, but it is more about a kind of nostalgic fear or regret. There was a great line in the chorus with Nathan singing, "Is this the punishment I've earned? Relive who I've been at my worst." It is very relatable, especially as someone who struggles with depression. We then get the wonderfully titled "Christ Alive, My Toe, Damn It Hurts." This song has a super upbeat vibe to it, even though Nathan repeats over and over again in the song that he feels like dying. The song obviously sees Nathan struggling with a mental health crisis, and people trying to relate to it just seems to make things worse. There are some great lines in this song, at least if you're into this genre of music, where Nathan sings, "At least if I'm choking, life is less disappointing." Or when he sings, "When did wanting to live start to go out of fashion?" Of course, these play into the very typical tropes that emo music is about self-harm, but as we're going to get into, they're more earned on this album than I think many other artists who broached similar topics seem to ride the sort of like edginess of it without it being, I guess, an integral part of their emotional trauma. I also appreciate how this song contrasts this kind of emotional turmoil with the upbeat nature of the song. It really does sort of capture the disconnect of how hard it is to explain to others what you are feeling when you struggle with something like depression. We then get the song Betty. This song, I mean, what is there to say about this song? When I first listen to an album, it is usually as background music. I'm not really analyzing the lyrics, I'm just sort of taking the song in. And of course, when this song came on, it just felt like your standard acoustic song on an emo album. So I was expecting it to be about a sour relationship and like woe is me kind of bullshit. There's also this whistling on the song, which I found kind of annoying when it was just playing as background music. But then at one point, during one of the playthroughs of this album, something about the lyrics started to make the song come alive to me. And it turns out that Betty is not a romantic partner, but is instead Nathan's pet dog. And this song is about Betty getting sick and the grief he felt as Betty died. And it was upon realizing that the whistling just fucking hits hard. I challenge you to listen to this song and not cry. It is just an incredibly emotionally destroying song about the loss of a pet. And goddamn. We then have to somehow transition from that song to Cock Party 2, Better Than the First. This song sees a more collaborative singing effort from the band as they sing back and forth over a drum beat intro. It kind of reminds me of earlier Taking Back Sunday. The song sees Nathan and the band reflecting on old friends and times when they used to hang out, but now they've grown older and have changed. For anyone who has drifted apart from friends, again, this is a super relatable and engaging song. We then get the great single off the album, Shh, Golf Is On. It is an emotional song about Nathan's mom, who does not sound like a great person. The chorus sees Nathan constantly self-reflecting and noticing if he has any of his mother's behaviors, and then changing them if he does. It is a powerful song about generational trauma, which is a constant theme on this album. It also starts to paint a picture of where this sort of depression throughout this album is coming from, which is why I said some of the earlier lines about self-harm are much more earned on this album, as you see Nathan struggling with this trauma. We then get the second single, Gon's Media Retro Games. It is a bouncy emo rock song about wondering if you are the problem in all of your relationships. But yeah, if you have that much, emotional trauma happening to you, you might start to wonder if it's all just you. I also love that apparently the title simply comes from a store across from where they recorded the album and has nothing at all to do with the song. The next song, Schmacked My Head Off, is another sad one, with Nathan singing about a relative struggling with dementia. There is a repeated refrain throughout this song of "it's okay" after all the small mistakes that the person with dementia is making, which is touching that he wants to be reassuring and isn't really judging this person for their illness. I recently had 2 of my grandparents pass away, and during the end of their lives, they were struggling with memory issues. One had dementia, the other had a brain tumor, which obviously impacted their ability to remember things. This obviously can be emotionally draining and hard, and this is captured in Nathan's singing, "Would you remember if I never left?" It is just so heartbreaking seeing Nathan wanting to connect with this person and realizing their lack of ability. The song also opens with a reference about televangelists exploiting the poor, and that this is something similar to what I went through with my grandfather. There are a lot of scams out there to exploit people with dementia, and it is a sad, depressing reality. We then end the album with John the Rock Cena, Can You Smell What the Undertaker? Again, the silliness of this song title does not do justice to the heavy material that appears on this track. This is a song about trauma after religious abuse that leads Nathan to having body dysmorphia. The song eventually builds into Nathan breaking down and screaming through the pain, with the final sarcastic line being yelled, "Holy." It is a powerful statement, and it also sort of wraps up this entire album of clear abuse and struggles that Nathan has had to go through and overcome. Given how heavy some of this material is, I do appreciate that the music has more of an uplifting or upbeat vibe to it, in that it borrows a lot from pop punk music. In combination with the silly titles of these songs, it allows you to feel like you're laughing through the pain with Nathan. One thing I really liked about this album is that it is emo in terms of its musical hereditary lineage. But none of the songs here are about romantic issues. I should say that nothing on this album musically is really breaking the mold, so this isn't going to be a paradigm-changing experience. I know emo rock is not for everyone, but if you are a die-hard fan of this music, I do highly recommend checking this one out. It is a solid, polished, and emotionally heavy project that I believe is worth listening to. I personally would give it a 7.5 out of 10. What did you think of this album? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Was it too much? Was it too little? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Also consider subscribing and liking the video. Subscribing to the channel and liking the video. I don't know why I screwed that up. But yeah, consider doing that. And congratulations to Vienno and Anissa. Happy marriage.